Screw the Grammys. This is the award show everyone cares about. We're predicting the NFL honors. Welcome everybody to JJ News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared and I representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about the NFL honors, the annual ceremony that the NFL holds, where they honor the best players and coaches in football. They give out all the awards, and we're going to predict them, who I think is going to win each award given out during tonight's show. Again, I want to stress this before going any further. These are who I think is going to win. It's not who I would necessarily vote for. I just want to make that very clear. This is not who I would vote for. It's what I think the voters are going to do. So with that in mind, let's go down the list one by one and predict, using history and using stats, who I think is going to win each award. Starting with the Assistant Coach of the Year, you got 5 finalists for this one. Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions as their offensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, the Ravens defensive coordinator, Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, the Browns defensive coordinator, and Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator. Now, the last 8 years, this award has been given out to a coach that won the division that year. Last time it wasn't given out to someone like that was Todd Bowles back in 2014 with the Arizona Cardinals. So that probably eliminates Jim Schwartz from the running. Usually it goes to a first-place coach. Now, for me, it comes down to 2 people. I don't think McDonald and Monken will have a shot at winning the award. It comes down to Bobby Slowick with the Houston Texans, what he did with C.J. Stroud, and then Ben Johnson with the Detroit Lions and that high-powered offense that turned Jared Goff, a reject quarterback, into one of the best quarterbacks in football. Now, look, I love what Bobby Slowick has done. I think he's a phenomenal assistant. I think in 2025 he'll be a head coach somewhere, and I really want him out of the AFC South as a Jaguars fan. Having said that, though, the Texans' offense was outside the top 10 this year in terms of scoring. I'm not saying they were bad. They were a very good offense. Do not mistake this for anything. But you look at the coaches to win this award in the past. DeMeco Ryans won it in 2022 with the San Francisco 49ers. His defense was first. Dan Quinn won it in 2021 with the Dallas Cowboys. His defense was 7th. Brian Daboll won it in 2020 with the Buffalo Bills. His offense was 2nd. Greg Roman won it in 2019 with the Baltimore Ravens. His offense was 1st. Vic Fangio won it in 2018 with the Chicago Bears. His defense was 1st. Pat Shurmur won it in 2017 with the Minnesota Vikings. His offense was 10th. Kyle Shanahan won it in 2016 with the Atlanta Falcons. His offense was 1st. Wade Phillips won it in 2015 with the Denver Broncos. His defense was 1st. And the first coach to win the award, Todd Bowles, in 2014 with the Arizona Cardinals. His defense was 5th. The average ranking is 3rd. There was never been a coach that was outside the top 10 in that category, whether an offense is points scored or defense points allowed. Never been a coach outside the top 10 to win this award. And Slogan, the Texans, were right around the middle of the pack in 13th. Now, again, it's very misleading. The Texans' offense was incredible this year. The stuff that C.J. Stroud was doing was phenomenal. But just looking at that, I think Ben Johnson's going to win this award. He's been the hot name for a while. I think he cements that even further with a win in this category. Moving on to Coach of the Year, this is an award that's given out based on expectations. If you had high expectations, you're not winning this award unless you had a historically good season, like the 16-0 Patriots in 2007. If it was based on just who did the best job coaching, Andy Reid might win this thing every single year. There are 5 candidates for AP Coach of the Year. You got Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions, John Harbaugh with the Baltimore Ravens, DeMeco Ryans with the Houston Texans, Kyle Shanahan with the San Francisco 49ers, and you got Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. Now, I think that John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan had pretty high expectations going into the season. I don't think anyone saw the Ravens and Niners as being bad teams this year. They're probably out for those reasons. Dan Campbell, the Lions were expected to do well. A lot of people's picked to win the division. I think for that reason, he might be out as well. On top of that, as great of a coach as he was at motivating guys, there were some questionable decisions that he made. I know the playoffs doesn't impact anything with the voting. It's always done before the end of the regular season, but there were some aggressive moves that might turn voters off, like the fake punt in the Packers game. Again, this is what the voters are going to think. This is not what I necessarily think. It comes down, in my mind, to 2 guys, Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans. Now, Kevin Stefanski, 5 different starting quarterbacks this year. Really 4. He didn't have to play Jeff Driscoll the final week of the season, but Joe Flacco was the starter, and the Browns had locked up the number 5 seed, so there's no reason for him to play. Stefanski is the first coach ever to make the playoffs with 4 different starting quarterbacks, let alone 5 different starting quarterbacks. In a quarterback-driven league, that has to be worth something. DeMeco Ryans, on the other hand, he led arguably the worst team in football to the playoffs. Last season, they would have been the worst team if not for a Hail Mary. If not for a Hail Mary at the very end of that Texans Colts game, they would have had the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So because of that, he might have an edge over the Browns, who are just an average team. On top of that, DeMeco Ryans, first-year head coach. Usually first-year head coaches fare very favorably over coaches that had been with the team for a few seasons before, like Kevin Stefanski. It's going to be close, but I think winning the division gives DeMeco Ryans the edge here. And for that reason, I think that DeMeco Ryans ends up winning this award. Now, in terms of comeback player of the year, I did a video on this a few weeks ago. Go check that out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link in the upper right corner and the description. But you got 5 players nominated here. You got Joe Flacco, you got Damar Hamlin, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, and Tua Tagovailoa. You got 4 quarterbacks and Damar Hamlin. And when you really look at it, it really comes down to Hamlin and Flacco. I don't think Flacco should win this award. Flacco even said straight up that he should not win this award. I talked about that in a previous video. Go check that out, upper right corner, or link in the description. Damar Hamlin came back from the dead. My thing with Damar Hamlin was at the start of the season, if he took one snap, he was going to win this award. He has done something that no one else in NFL history has done, which is literally die on the field and then come back and end up playing. It doesn't matter how well he played. It doesn't matter how often he played. The fact that he played is heroic. It is a remarkable feat. I think that deserves comeback player of the year over a guy just coming off of his couch. So because of that, I think Damar Hamlin wins this award. He had the award locked up the moment he came back into the NFL during this 2023 season. I know the Flacco story is interesting and all coming off the couch, leading the Browns to the playoffs, but I don't think you overthink this. I think Damar Hamlin's going to win this award. Even though Flacco made a late surge at the end, Hamlin should have this award if the voters do what I think they're going to do. Now, when it comes to Defensive Rookie of the Year, you have Will Anderson of the Houston Texans, Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles, Joey Porter Jr. of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kobe Turner of the Los Angeles Rams, and Witherspoon of the Seattle Seahawks. It's the weakest field in years for Defensive Rookie of the Year. There aren't really any standouts. For me, personally, I would give it to Will Anderson, but the problem with Anderson, he might have missed too much time. He was inactive for 2 games. He played less than 50% of the snaps over the final 2 games of the season, including just 22% in that loss to the Cleveland Browns. I'm not sure Anderson necessarily gets the award, especially for a pass-rushing defensive end. To have 7 sacks, pretty pedestrian. Again, his numbers do not indicate how well he played. He was a menace this season. I love Will Anderson. I think next year he could be a Pro Bowler, a second-team All-Pro, but the stats are not exactly screaming Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is what a lot of these voters go off of. I think Jalen Carter built up enough momentum at the start of the season to hold on to this award. Great start to the year, 3.5 sacks in the first 5 weeks. He was getting off the line super quick. His get-off speed was one of the best in football. 4 tackles for a loss in that stretch, 4 quarterback hits. He did taper off a bit. The Eagles' defense taper off a bit, but he had such a stranglehold early on that he probably wins the award because of that great first impression. Now, my pick of the start of the season was Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from the New England Patriots. I thought he was very good to start the year off, then he got hurt, missed the rest of the season. If he ended up staying healthy, I think he would have won the award. Would have been very interesting to see how that played out. Again, pretty weak field for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I think Carter built up enough of a lead at the start that no one else really took control over the final 3 quarters of the season. I think for that reason, Carter ends up winning it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, you got 5 guys. You got 2 guys on the lines, Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, and Sam Laporta, the very good tight end. You got Puka Nacua, the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver, Bijan Robinson, the highly touted running back from the Atlanta Falcons, and then quarterback C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. Really, it comes down to 2. I think everyone knows the 2 that it comes down to, Puka Nacua and C.J. Stroud. Puka set the record for most receptions by a rookie. C.J. Stroud did things that we've never seen any rookie quarterback ever do. This is unfortunately a 100% quarterback-driven award. If there is a worthy candidate, they're going to win the award, even if there is someone else that might be more deserving. Kyler Murray in 2019 should not have won the award over A.J. Brown and Josh Jacobs, but he did. I actually think Kyler Murray was not even the best rookie quarterback in 2019. I think Gardner Minshew played better. Justin Herbert in 2020 over Justin Jefferson, that was highly controversial. Zeke Elliott in 2016 definitely deserved the award over Dak Prescott, but Prescott ended up winning it. Sam Bradford won over Mike Williams in 2010. Bradford's touchdown to interception ratio was 1-to-1 about. Williams had 11 touchdowns, nearly 1,000 yards, but nope, Sam Bradford wins the award. The most egregious by far as a Jaguars fan, how Maurice Jones-Drew didn't win the award in 2006 over Vince Young, who threw more picks than touchdowns, I don't know. Absolutely crazy. Even Deshaun Watson in 2017, a stacked running back class, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, just to name a few, he got a first-place vote despite playing 6 games as a starter. So this is an award that is given to quarterbacks if there is even a remotely worthy candidate. There hasn't been one in the last 2 years. This year there is with C.J. Stroud, so as great of a season as Puka Nacua has had, I think this award goes to C.J. Stroud. Now we get to what I think is going to be the toughest award to pick. Defensive Player of the Year, I could see this going either way. You got 5 guys nominated. You got DaRon Bland of the Dallas Cowboys. You got Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders. Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. And TJ Watt on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it can't possibly be Micah Parsons or Max Crosby. If it is, the whole system is a sham. It's not a knock on Parsons or Crosby, but neither of those guys were AP first-team All-Pros, and this award is given out by the AP. So how can you possibly be a Defensive Player of the Year by the Associated Press without being a first-team All-Pro? That doesn't seem to make any sense in the world. Now, DaRon Bland had a great season, 5 pick sixes, set a record, but it is very rare for defensive backs to win the award. Only one has won it since 2011, that was Stephon Gilmore, and he was way better that season than Bland was. So it really comes down to 2 guys, and this could go either way. It's going to come down to either TJ Watt or it's coming down to Myles Garrett. Betting based off of sacks between 2 defensive ends and linebackers usually works. 2022, Bosa had 18.5 sacks, and he won the award. He led the league in sacks. 2021, TJ Watt had 22.5 sacks. He won the award after leading the league in that category. So, based on that, the voters love that sack total. Because of that, I'm going to go with Watt over Garrett by a hair. Now, Garrett has never won this award before. Watt won it back in 2021 when he led the league in sacks. There could be some voter fatigue to some extent. This is extremely tough to pick. I'm going to go with Watt by a hair. It's going to be awfully close. I think TJ Watt wins it. Myles Garrett would not shock me. The other 3 guys would stun me, just flat out stun me, especially Parsons or Crosby. Now we go to Offensive Player of the Year. There's 5 candidates here. Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins wideout. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback. CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys wide receiver. Christian McCaffrey, the Niners running back. And Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback. Now, this award is not quarterback driven. It's usually just the best offensive player. And I think in a year like this, you got to give it to Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 21 touchdowns. Now, here's a list of players in the last 25 seasons to have over 20 touchdowns and 2,000 yards from scrimmage in the last 25 years. Terrell Davis in 1998, he won the award. Marshall Faulk in 2000 with the Rams, he won the award. Marshall Faulk in 2001 with the Rams, he won the award. Priest Holmes in 2002 with the Chiefs, he won the award. Priest Holmes in 2003 with the Chiefs, he lost to Jamal Lewis, who had over 2,000 rushing yards. I think that's a pretty good reason. Larry Johnson in 2005, he lost to Sean Alexander, who set the record for most rushing touchdowns in a season. I think that's a pretty good reason to lose the award. And LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006, he won the award. So in the last 25 seasons, excluding Christian McCaffrey, you're looking at 7 guys to have 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 21 touchdowns. 5 of them won the award. 1 of them lost to a guy that set an NFL record for most rushing touchdowns. 1 of them lost to a guy that had over 2,000 rushing yards, which was a very exclusive club to be in and still is. Because of that, I don't see how Christian McCaffrey doesn't win this award. Tyreek Hill was putting up a fight, but he did miss some time due to injury. And because of that, I think Christian McCaffrey ends up taking this award. And I don't think this one is even remotely close. And finally, that takes us to the MVP, where you got 4 quarterbacks and a running back. You got Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, Lamar Jackson on the Baltimore Ravens, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys, and Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant himself, of the San Francisco 49ers. This seemed like a 2-horse race going into that Monday Night Football game between the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers with Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. And I said the winner of that game was going to win the MVP. Lamar Jackson had such a great final month of the season, played lights out in that game. The Ravens destroyed the Niners. McCaffrey played well in that one. Didn't get the ball a whole lot, but he did play well. But Lamar won that game. I think that was a tiebreaker in the mind of a lot of voters. I think Lamar Jackson wins the award. This is a quarterback-driven award. The last time a non-quarterback won the award was Adrian Peterson back in 2012, who had over 2,000 rushing yards, pretty much put the Vikings on his back. They had no quarterback. They had Christian Ponder, and they still made the playoffs because AP was that good. I think McCaffrey had a great season. If it were up to me, I might go McCaffrey for MVP. Same thing with Offensive Player of the Year. But I think they split the award. I think McCaffrey wins Offensive Player of the Year, and Lamar Jackson wins the MVP for the second time in his NFL career. And that's where things get very interesting, because Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs. Everyone that has 2 MVPs is either in the Hall of Fame or will make the Hall of Fame when they become eligible. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady being the exceptions. They're not eligible yet, but they will be in the Hall of Fame someday. And everyone else has those 2 MVPs in the Hall of Fame. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Lamar Jackson, how this award changes his legacy. But by the end of the night, I think we will have Lamar Jackson a 2-time MVP winner. But what are your thoughts? Who do you think wins the awards for the NFL Honors? Are you going to watch the NFL Honors? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, JackWarrior9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JackWarrior9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.